Hello, welcome to this video. I just wanted to pop on and I don't have a lot of time to do this video, but I want to just pop on and do a little share. So welcome. Welcome back if you've seen these and welcome if you haven't. Um, my intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. I wanted to share, I just did a live video for the first time. Yay, me. It actually worked on YouTube. We tried to do it on Facebook, but that didn't work. Facebook and I'm a little Facebook challenged. Having said that, I did a live on YouTube with my sister, Candace Co. We are going to we're planning to do a live every Sunday morning, which I'm either going to be calling Synchronistic Sunday or Soul Signature Sunday. Play with both of those, most likely Synchronicity Sundays, because Candace and I have become very close friends, and we end up talking about a lot of our synchronicities throughout the week. And it's a good time once a week to kind of recap what we're tapping into and the energies that we're tapping into. And one of the questions that came up in this live that we did came from Josh, one of my friends and fellow light workers. He had asked Candace to go in a little more detail on what she meant by feeling the energies before it happens. And we did answer that question a little bit, but I wanted to go a little deeper into that answer. Oftentimes, and I'm speaking for Candace because she and I both experience this in pretty much the same way. But we will feel ahead of time things that are going to happen. We might see things ahead of time before they happen. We might actually experience in our own reality an event that then is a precursor to what the collective will be experiencing 6 months before the collective experiences it. So I think we kind of answered that question, Josh, but I really thought that was a great question. And you guys, there were so many good comments in there from everybody watching that live. So thank you so much for participating. And I'm going to go through those maybe in a little bit more detail later, but I just wanted to add to that. So oftentimes we might be feeling into or experiencing something on the micro that then happens on the macro within a few weeks, within a few months, within mine are things I've been wrote about 2 years ago that are now coming to fruition in the collective now. I went through things such as death of an identity or ego death, or feeling that there was this huge tidal wave coming in and now it's here. Now it's happening on the collective level, but I experienced it in my own reality 6 months ago. And in my reality, I knew and felt in my heart that this was something that was going to be happening on a mass scale in the future. And so I'm answering kind of that's how many of us feel the future. We feel into a collective experience that perhaps is a movement, a pattern that we're picking up on. And Candace kind of mentioned it's a ripple backwards, and we're feeling that sound wave, right? So I just wanted to go into a little bit more clarity on that because I thought that was a really great just question in general. It's like when there's a full moon and 3 days before the full moon, you feel it. Or when there's a solar flare, oftentimes I'll feel it and I'll go, ooh, I think we're gonna have a solar flare. And then 2 days later, boom, we have aurora, we have a solar flare and all of this. So that's something we all can feel. This is different than perhaps making a prediction. And that could be a whole other video. When we predict that something's going to happen, sometimes that can come from a feeling of intuition or something that we're recognizing as a pattern that's happened before. So then we predict that it's going to happen again here in the same time frame. And I could do a whole video on intuitive predictions versus predictive modeling, right? Based on a collective cycle and pattern. But that might be something if we're interested to dive into at a later time. I wanted to read one page of something I wrote. It won't be as long as some of the other things I've written. And I don't think I've typed it up yet. actually 2 pages, and I think it's relevant for now. My guidance team has been telling me to share these writings that I wrote about because they're relevant now, so I'm just going to go for it. I am slipping into a new view through the looking glass, Alice in Wonderland technology, a new viewfinder. And if I've read this before, apologies on my redundance. Alice in Wonderland technology, a new viewfinder, a mobile duster, arcing interlay. Lay down your swords, your plowshares have lifted. The plowshares have lifted. We are no longer fueled by false flame technology. Smoke and fumes are all that is left. False systematics power up to make us think the ship is sinking. Yet we have resurfaced. Our barrier codes, our barrier cards are put in place, and we do not allow an influx of destabilization matrix conductors anymore. We do not allow the cables to conduct anymore. Allow the cables to fall away, all fall down. As the heartstrings are pulled, a stirring is felt. A battle of the senses sets off a tidal wave effect, a tidal wave of emotions. The tides are shifting, move into the flow as the front moves through. We open so as to confront that which no longer fits, comfort that which stirs our emotions, that which sits waiting to be revealed, moved through, moved out. What moves you? See through the spells that have been cast, the senses accosted no more. Light up your resources, light up the grand floor, ground crew, yet so much more. So I wanted to just kind of end on that note. So I could go back in and break a lot of this writing down, and I will post this on my blog, these 2 writings, this weekend or in the next 2 days. This one might be Alice in Wonderland. So when I was writing this, basically I wrote it, the looking glass technology is an old technology that was utilized in previous times to essentially view into the future. And I thought this was relevant considering the question that was asked by Joshua in the last video that I did with Candace, because it was utilized as a technology to try to view the potentiality or the programming, what did I call it? Predictive modeling, okay? And it gave certain beings the ability to forecast and to see what was being forecasted. But what I've been shown by my guidance team is that that is no longer something that's available to be utilized in the same way. It cannot be used, therefore, and I wanted to add to this because one of the things that Candace and I talked about in the last video was how important it is to be creating from, where is it we're creating from, who is it that we're creating for. And so I went back and looked at this, and it's Alice in Wonderland technology. So it was a different land. It was here on Earth, yet utilized through multidimensionality. And when I wrote it's a new viewfinder, a mobile duster. So I was looking at, oh my gosh, we could go into so many different, a duster is a type of car. It's a type of vehicle that was used to dust things off. You could just blow it off as unimportant, yet at the same time, it was actually very important. So from my perspective, some of the things I write about is utilizing my own technology to look through the looking glass and find different patterns, to see things from different perspectives. We all have this ability in our own way. Candace had mentioned her daughter had found a magnifying glass and a compass all together. And that's essentially what we're being invited to utilize. We have that ability to utilize the viewfinder to see through to hone in on things. And this allows us to see what the future potentials hold for us. Arcing. So arcing is electricity, okay? Interlaying in with different realities. And I wrote, lay down your swords. So what's going on right now? I wrote this a year ago, but right now, at the time I was writing it about words. Lay down your swords, your words. Words can be cutting and used as a device to then battle, right? But right now we literally have a battle going on as well. In not just words, but literally between countries. The plowshares have been lifted. So essentially, what we used to use to work with and this idea of this energy just plowing over us, it's actually been lifted. We just can't see it because we are no longer fueled by a false flame technology. There's enough people that are no longer gaslit and fueled by this false fire that is being lit. And I wanted to share, there are real fires that are going on, you guys. There are real things happening, but we are doing such a great job for the most part of stabilizing our frequencies that essentially the only thing that's there are smoke and fumes. Fume, for me, fume, is, it's all, the fire is gone. That was needed to fuel our fire. For our own fire, our own internal flame is coming up. And again, I saw this as part 2 of the conversation that Candace and I were having. False systematics power up to make us think the ship is sinking. Recognizing that a lot of this is a system, an automatic system, okay, systematics. They keep trying to power it up to change the way we think and to make it look like our ship is going down. And we have resurfaced, yet we have still resurfaced. We keep coming up. And when you resurface something, you're taking the old and you're resurfacing it and repurposing it. Our barrier cards, our barrier codex, our barrier codes are put in place. And we do not allow an influx of destabilization matrix conductors anymore. So essentially what I'm seeing is a lot of this is meant to destabilize us, but we have created our own barrier, okay? And when I say that, I hear the Great Reef Barrier. I'm hearing this ocean and influx of energies of the starseed community. And they're actually codes that we have plugged in to the mainframe of our conductibility because we are all communicating behind the scenes, if that makes sense. And they're literally a code that we are creating as the coders of the new matrix. And so we've put those in, okay? And we're not, even with this influx of destabilization, it's not working anymore. And I'm hearing and I wrote, allow the cable to fall away, all fall down. So what does that sound like for those reading between the lines? I also see this recognition that a lot of the cables that we're connected up to, think about the internet, think about the news stations, to all fall down. As the heartstrings are pulled, a stirring is felt, a string is felt, a stirring is felt, heartstrings are pulled. What we're watching on television is pulling at our heartstrings because we care about the people that are being affected by all of this power play. And so what's happening is it's creating this compassion and humanity, but it's not fueling this fire that it's seeking to fuel at the same time. We care for those who are experiencing loss and sadness, and we feel for them. We're sending out these prayers as a network, and we're supporting one another even more because of what is being shown on the mainstream strings. okay, on the cable. A battle of the senses sets off a tidal wave effect. So we're seeing a battle for our senses. It's a battle on the cable networks. It's a battle literally between countries. It's a battle between words. All of these things are being used, and it's a fight between the senses. Like we have this, and Candace and I talked about this. There's an oversensory, a heightened senses, lots of confusion, lots of heightened cortisol. Our adrenals are constantly going because we're like, well, this is going on over here and this is going on over there. And this person said that. And they used these words, SWORDS, right? To battle for our attention. And they're battling with one another to try to pull us in all of these different directions. And this is having a tidal wave effect. Tide, all, wave effect. This changes the tides, okay, which means the tides are churning, and it creates a tidal wave of emotions. Now, what this does is I see this as emotion, energy in motion. So while this is fueling some people's fires and destabilization on the bigger raft of life, the bigger life raft, it's actually causing motion. It's causing a movement. It's cause and effect, okay? It's causing a ripple in such a way that it's creating this tidal wave of emotions that actually is pouring out this support for one another and for humanity. And I said earlier, it makes people think that the ship is sinking, but in actuality, it's creating a life raft for each other. The tides are shifting, move into the flow as the front moves through. So we open as to confront that which no longer fits. So the tides are shifting. Because of all of this, it's actually helping us to change the tides. And the guidance team is like, move into this, move with it as the front moves through. So it's this front, this idea of what things look like when you put up a front. But it's also a storm front and a weather front that's coming through. So we're being invited to allow it to move through. And we open so as to confront, so then we stand in front of it and see it. We allow it to move through us, but we're not losing our stabilization in it. It's like the shamans opening up and allowing the wind to move through us rather than fighting up against the wind. We're feeling it move through us, but we're not changing our stance from one perspective. I'm hearing long may you wave, the long wave, right? That, and we're confronting this, we're seeing it, that which sits, waiting to be revealed and moved. So we're seeing what's been waiting, and this is all a play on words, moved through and moved out. So as we do this, we're allowing this to energy in motion. So no longer stagnation or kept under and held, right? And I'm hearing held captive, holding us in captivity, holding us in when you're held, captivating, right? It's been captivating us. It no longer captivates us because we're like, nope, we're going to just move through this and work together so that we are no longer held hostage by our emotions. And I'm hearing held in hostility or hostile behaviors toward one another. It's more of, again, coming into a place of compassion. And basically, the question was, what moves you? What moves you? We're being invited to ask. My guides were like, what moves you? Movement itself, creativity, joy, sadness, feeling compassion for someone else, allowing myself to feel that, and then allow it to move through me so I can step up into a higher ability to respond with compassion to my experiences and how I can be of service. And I could go on and on. We're all being invited to see this, right? From different perspectives. See through the spells that have been cast. That entire sentence is a play on words. There have beens. The spells have been already cast. The spell, when you spell out a word or a letter, it casts a shadow, which holds a frequency or vibration. And we talked about this in the previous video. See through it. Recognize it. The senses accosted no more. So many of us are feeling under this constant state of being accosted. That's a play on words. It costs energy. It costs us value when we give our energy to something that is actually devaluing humanity, right? That is not something that builds us up, but instead fractionizes us. And it's taking a piece at a time as it pulls us in all of these many different directions. So we're being invited to see through each of these. And especially right now, today's 227, what's going on right now in the collective, right? What's been going on the last 2 years, all of these cycles, right? Fear. So the senses accosted no more. Light up your resources. And I was hearing, light up, right? Snow patrol. See through this blizzard of energy that is accosting all of our senses. It's costing us. So let's light up our own resources and quit paying attention, right? That's a play on words. Tension to paying this energy that's tightening our senses, holding us back. We can see it and do what we can, but not let it pull us out of alignment. Light up our own resources. Again, this has to do with our skin suit, what we have available to us. It's not just about money or power. It's about our own inner power and resources. The ability to give someone else a hug, the ability to send someone a card and tell them we're thinking about them, buy someone flowers, go plant a tree. What we do have the resources to do in this moment. Light up the grand floor, the ground floor, the ground crew, yet so much more. And I ended on that note, so I'll just read this one and end on that. So this is the floor. We're on the ground floor because we are the foundation that is stabilizing all of the other floors, right? And I keep hearing the word fluorescence. And I wrote that in my other writing, which I'll share probably on the second video because I don't think I'm gonna have time on this one. Ground crew, yet so much more. Little shout out to a beautiful ground crew that I'm friends with and I have the pleasure and gratitude of exchanging energy with. So thank you, Annette, Liara, for inviting me into that group. And thank you, that whole crew, Cuddle Fairy, Becky and Tracy and Angel and Serenity and Chris and all of you guys. I'm really appreciative of that ground crew group. But essentially, we're the ground crew. We're boots on the ground. We are the ones that are seeing through all of this. And because our boots are on the ground and we're not floating away in the ethers all of the time, and we're not just pretending like this isn't going on, we are the bridge between multidimensionality, between the physical and the non-physical, between all versions of Earth, between what's happening in organic 3D and what's happening in inorganic versions of different matrices. We're seeing through all of these, and we're essentially bridging fifth dimensional frequencies and sixth dimensional frequencies and 4D, the astral and the physical planes. That's what we're doing as this ground crew. So the more we can do to stabilize that, the less all of these spells and patterns that are created in order to capture that energy, the less effect they have on us. And I talked about this in the last video, cause and effect, right? So this is something we're really being invited to look at and recognize so that we can clear the way, see clearly the paths that are being lit up in our bodies, in front of us, around us, in all directions, up, down, through, in, out, through the heart, right? And find our own spin so all of this other stuff doesn't suck us in, these stories, paradigms, and belief systems, and it allows us to then create a spin that changes and has an extreme effect on the future, rippling out into the past, into the future, into the parallels. We're doing that now, whether we recognize it or realize it or not. So why don't we start, right, recognizing it and realizing it and bringing it into realization? And the more we can do that, the more we can support those that are really going through difficult times right now. It doesn't mean all of us can fly over to another country and rescue those beautiful humans, but we have the capability to do what we have the capability to do. And what is that? We're being invited to ask ourselves, what can I do? Well, I can give love. I can go do what I can do here in this now moment of every day. And that needs to be enough in some cases. That's something else I keep hearing. It's like, I'm not doing enough. What if? Again, this is fear, fear, fear. And we can only do what we can do. So it may not feel like it's enough, but taking a step back and saying, it has to be enough right now, because that's all I can do. That's all I have the capability of doing right now. Therefore, it must be enough. But if one person each of us is working together to be all that we can be in that now moment, then that becomes us, as Candace so beautifully spoke, us holding hands and creating that map, creating that system of interconnected, again, I keep seeing the mycelium network. So the fungi that comes together to unify. Some people can fly to these other countries and help save animals and people, and that's beautiful. Some of us can't do that right now, but we can do things in other ways. And that's what we are doing. So I honor each and every one of you on this path together in unity and diversity, in unique individuality in the all, the individuality in this reality that we are all sharing together, yet co-creating in our own space of creation. So in love and light, guys, I just hope somebody found this maybe a little expansive. Okay, namaste. Thank you.